with ICE, and they let bad guys, they let them out on the street.
Wake Up Missouri with Stephanie Bell.
We cannot and the world should not tolerate an Iranian regime that is trying to choke off the entire world's economy.
The Zimmer News Team. And now introducing your host, Randy Tobler.
Good morning. It's Jennifer Bukowski, not Randy Tobler. I'm here with Stephanie Bell, and we have a stacked show for you today. So much happening. At 7:08, we will be joined by Kurt Schaefer, the director of the Missouri Department of Natural Resources, who has big updates for us about what Missouri is doing in the way of critical minerals and nuclear power. We also have Attorney General Catherine Hanaway joining us at 8:08 to talk about winning 2 redistricting cases at the Missouri Supreme Court Tuesday, as well as the case that she's in D.C. this morning to argue as about Trump's election integrity executive order. We also have a host of other topics. A Rand Paul hearing about Fauci exploded yesterday. And more locally, Boone County Clerk Brianna Lennon reportedly is refusing to take the L from Tuesday and saying that she won't issue ballots in accordance with the 2025 map. So now what? We'll get into all of that and more. In the meantime, President Trump is in China. Stephanie, do you see it? We're seeing these pictures coming out. And I know this isn't very substantive, but I'm loving the tablescape.
It's beautiful.
Like the decoration on the table. I'm really into doing that myself. I host big dinners at least once a month, and I always plan all month for what my table is going to look like. Oh, we need to turn on John Marsh.
We were joking around here about did they have quarter pounders ready for the president, because I don't know if he, the monkey brain Fu Young was probably on his menu or whatever.
Yeah. Hopefully they served in more normal stuff, because I've been to China and they eat some strange things, like a scorpion on a stick. Like that's like a treat.
Ooh.
A little octopus. Like it's just one strange thing after another.
I'm
over there.
here for the octopus, but maybe not the scorpion.
But like a whole baby octopus with its eyeballs on a stick?
No, I can't do eyeballs.
My
Nope.
son ate that. He loves eating exotic. My one son will eat anything. The more exotic, he'll go for it.
There you go.
Not
Cool.
me. Not so much. But yeah, it's like this table has a lake in the middle, and all these flowers, swans, pagodas, and they have the chairs at this big round table of equals, like King Arthur's court. And you see some of the Trump's family. Marco Rubio is there. You see our ambassador, Monica Crowley, and her counterpart seating the 2 leaders. And it seems like, from what I'm gathering this morning, John, I don't know if you're gathering the same, it seems like some good news, some bad news. Like, they're, on the one hand, Xi Jinping is saying we should be partners, not adversaries. On the other hand, the readout is talking pretty tough on Taiwan. What's your take on that?
Big time. Yeah, big time. Not really surprising, though.
Yeah.
I mean, that was, kind of what they were mapping out from the get-go. China's been, they've said in no uncertain terms that Taiwan's part of mainland China and needs to come back under their fold.
Yeah, that's where all their elites went to back when the commies took over, right? And so they've got the chips, which ties into our show. That ties into our show today, too, because Missouri apparently has 36 out of the 60 critical minerals listed by U.S. Geological Surveys. And we have a new plan for, getting those minerals out of the ground here in Missouri. And Kurt Schaefer's going to be here to talk about that.
Extracting them. But then once you extract them, they have to be
processed?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So
And I think a lot of those go to China to be processed and then come back.
Did you all talk yesterday about Marco Rubio's choice of attire on the way over?
I don't think we did.
Sweatsuit.
I'm loving.
Oh my God, that was epic. He wears the same exact tracksuit that Maduro was wearing when they captured him and took him into custody and, perp walked him.
I'm thinking that sweatsuit has to be sold out online now, right?
Has to.
It's got to. They got to be making more of those over in China, probably.
That's going to be.
That was what? Kind of a Nike light gray deal.
But it looked a little bit like upscale Nike, like not the one that you'd buy at the cheapest level, but like one of the more designer tracksuits.
Yeah.
And they posted a picture of him wearing that as he went over there. It's like baller move. Like,
he's hilarious.
What are they trying to say? Hey, watch out, Xi Jinping. We might grab you too, dude. I mean, I don't know. Or, hey, reminder, our military is way better than yours, and we have weapons that you don't even know about that stun people and make them bleed out of their, what was it, bleed out of their noses or ears or something. Remember that report from when we invaded Venezuela? And we used like these weapons that made people like all of a sudden they couldn't even move and they were bleeding out of their head someplace. Yeah, that was interesting. But yeah, I'm loving the tablescape. I'm loving seeing Trump at work. This is his second visit to China, and now Xi Jinping is going to come this fall. So it seems like diplomacy is at work on the behalf of the American people. But nevertheless, we still have a lot going on with Israel, Hezbollah. There's a drone attack. There's a report that Netanyahu met with the leaders of UAE, which UAE is now denying. But shortly after Netanyahu's people are saying that we met with them, we went ahead and sent our Iron Dome to UAE, who's getting more missiles attacked on them than Israel did, which I thought was a startling statistic.
Makes you wonder about how many of the long-range missiles Iran no longer has, and they're having to use just shorter-range stuff, so they use it on their virtual neighbors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's a good point, John. Maybe it is shorter-range stuff, so they're using it up, or are they most mad at UAE? But there's reports, I don't know if this has been confirmed, that UAE troops are on the ground in Iran. So our boots aren't on the ground.
From Fox.
Yeah, but Fox reported it. So did I think Wall Street Journal.
But they were taking so much fire, and like that was pretty surprising because the missiles hit the hotels in the UAE.
Yeah, and they're
really
like, we're just hitting American military bases. Meantime, hotels are going up, and apartment buildings are going up.
Yeah, and I mean, I think for like the story has been like we were all alone, no one's on our side. To start learning more that like actually people have been kind of helping us / working with us / working against Iran this whole time. I think it's encouraging.
Mm-hmm. John texts us that Brianna finally showing her true colors. Now, I was surprised to read that. I don't know how much Stephanie's allowed to say about that because you're involved with this litigation. But
I think I will refrain this morning from weighing in on the Brianna Lennon situation.
Yeah, that is interesting. If you have thoughts that you want to share with us throughout the show, 573-874-9390.
I think, Jen, you said it pretty clearly that the court said what it said. The new map is the law of the land.
Yeah, so, I mean, unless you're going to litigate, I guess someone will have to file a writ on her if she's seriously going to send out the wrong ballots. How is that going to work? How will that play out? We'll have to wait and see. But, yeah, she is showing her true colors because Boone County is one of the big ones, probably the main Democratic one. Well, there's some over in the Kansas City area also impacted, but
those are generally governed by election boards and not just a single.
Yeah,
clerk.
Jen, for I guess, Wake Up Missouri folks, give them the backstory on Brianna Lennon's thing. I guess she's basically, not updating the voter rolls after the big decision, right?
Right. So we have the 2025 map, which Boone County, a bigger portion would go to Bob Onder, none would go to Mark Alford, and some would go to whoever the new 5th District Congressman ends up being. But she's saying she's going to use the 2022 maps, which would put Boone County partially in the 3rd and partially in the 5th District, with the district being split down the road on Broadway. So it's a completely different map than what the rest of the state is going to be using. I'm not sure how this is all going to shake out.
No
but
kidding.
I would be surprised if she actually did print ballots. I don't know when they have to print those puppies by, but
there's been issues with the Boone County Clerk's office before. If you recall, Hallsville had to have totally redo their school bond election. John, recall that because they didn't follow the law in sending out the notices for that election. That was just, I think, last year.
Yeah, I think you're on the money with that one, and they even had some history way back too of some questionable things on some of the individuals who were listed as registered voters. I think they got that sorted out, but there were some questions a number of years ago in that regard.
Yeah, it was the state auditor, Scott Fitzpatrick, who said we can't certify these bond elections because you failed to follow the law with respect to public notices for elections. And that poor district had to have a do-over, basically.
we should try to get her on the show unless you can't have her on because
No,
you're
she-
involved with all this.
I mean, she can come on. She's been on several
Yeah,
times.
she's been on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know she has. So it would be an interesting time to get her on and have her explain how this would work exactly if you're using a different map than the rest of the state. Anyway, also a bill requiring pornography websites to conduct age checks before granting access is headed to Missouri Governor Mike Kehoe. So I guess that has come out on tomorrow's the last day of session. So it's kind of flown by this year. Probably more so for me than for the people down there in Jeff City who are dealing with fighting every day.
Ms. Bell included.
It's flown by. I mean, I think it really has. I think, it's been a little bit sleepy. There hasn't been nearly as many fireworks. You've got a lot of people who are termed out, who are just kind of,
And Bill,
hanging at, like, who are just, I don't know, collecting their per diem. It just seems like people, their heart's really not in it this session.
oh, really?
I feel like
Kinder and gentler. We've heard that from so many elected officials that it's definitely not been like it has been over the past few sessions with a whole lot of fighting, especially on the Senate side.
Yeah,
And I
the
think-
Senate, I haven't heard any 4 o'clock in the morning. They're reading green eggs and ham on the
No.
Senate floor kind of
they're
situations.
going home at like 5 and 6. I think they adjourned 5 o'clock earlier this week. They were out by 6, before 6 yesterday,
In
which
the
is,
last week of session?
yeah.
That's unusual.
Uh-huh.
Hearing
But I
any
think
rumblings about whether they'll make it to Friday or today may be the last day. for the Senate.
every day I hear something different. But I mean, also, like, credit to the governor, and because I mean, identifying, and to, like, folks like Cindy O'Loughlin, identifying some really big priorities really early on and getting some of those knocked out. I think prevents some of that, like, last minute craziness, because the governor said he wanted to reduce the income tax. Check. They got the budget done early.
Did
I
we
mean,
get open enrollment?
I don't know. We've not got open enrollment.
Well,
but
that's
I mean,
a bummer.
some of these big priorities, knocking them off early in session, I think helps. And then you're not, crunching at the last minute, letting, and that allows that, if you've got one big priority still kind of out there, it kind of lets the Democrats try to filibuster and hang you up and get concessions from you. So
We need a fake out priority for them next year. All right, we'll be back with John having the daily DC rundown.
It's Wake Up
down. That is
I guess you're in a
hilarious.
dancing mood. That'll wake you up in the morning.
Oh, my goodness.
And here's Stephanie with a daily DC rundown.
Well, President Trump's meeting face-to-face with Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing tonight, and the farmers want a win. They say American farmers have a lot riding on this U.S.-China summit. The GOP senators have been pressuring Trump to get relief, especially for soybeans. And that's really important here in Missouri, Jen. Farmers have been really struggling. They've had tariffs, rising fertilizer costs, fuel spikes. And China and the U.S. already have kind of a temporary tariff truce in place, but farmers want it extended. This is important not only for our, agriculture is Missouri's number one industry. We hear that a lot. We've got a lot of soybeans. It really affected them this year. And then also, for Trump and for the future of the Republican Party, typically farmers have leaned, I think, more conservative. And so, if we're squeezing one of our most important groups and they're feeling the hurt, are they going to show up to the polls in the way that they have in the past? So
I saw an interesting factoid on this. One of the TV, I think Fox put up. They said, guess where every chicken foot that's processed in the U.S. ends up going?
China.
They all go to China
No way.
they like their chicken feet.
Scorpions
we
on
don't eat 'em.
sticks and chicken feet. Is there any meat on a chicken foot? What are you eating? Just like straight collagen? Like,
Yeah, I guess. And
ugh. Okay. They will also be talking about Taiwan. Xi reportedly warned Trump that Taiwan is the most important issue at this summit, and that he warned the relationship would be in great jeopardy if Taiwan tensions escalate. It's important because Taiwan's got a lot of our semiconductors, but we're going to talk to DNR Director Kurt Schaefer about all the important what is it, rare earth minerals that we have over here. Critical minerals that we have over here. We've also got Senator Lisa Murkowski joining Rand Paul and Susan Collins, voting with Democrats to try to limit Trump's war authority. It's really kind of signaling that even some Republicans don't like the ongoing conflict. I think a lot of people were all in when we were like 6 weeks, we're going to get in there, we're going to get out. Now that it's kind of lingering, Congress is saying, well, maybe we should take back some of our authority. Of course, Pete Hegseth says congressional authorization isn't needed. We also saw Kevin Warsh confirmed as the new Federal Reserve Chair. He's replacing Jerome Powell at the end of the week. We got to figure out, is he going to cut the rates? He's in a quite precarious position, Jen, because the job numbers have kind of been pointing in different directions. We hear like jobs are really good, but inflation's really high. Trump obviously for a long time has been saying we need lower interest rates, but with inflation as high as it is, how is he going to balance all of that? And of course, the Fed is supposed to be independent, so he's got a tough job ahead of him, I think. And of course, the rest of us, as we pay higher prices for gas and everything else, I'd love to see lower mortgage rates, lower car loan rates, lower credit card APR rates, right? So that's an important position, and I think a lot of people are going to be watching very closely how he starts that off. We also saw the Senate unanimously advance a proposal to escrow senators' pay during government shutdowns. I think I actually saw like a comedy TikTok like, if you shut down the government, you shouldn't be paid either. And
I agree. Yeah, that's
No
a good
kidding.
call.
I like this.
All right. Well, Fauci was exposed during an explosive Rand Paul hearing yesterday. Why it impacted you is next.
Has America been
Welcome back to Wake Up Missouri. It's Jennifer Bukowski in for Randy, here with Stephanie Bell, John Marsh, Drake Whitman, and Rand Paul had a hearing on Capitol Hill yesterday that got explosive. Check this out.
Public health policy would have been very different had the American public been made aware that a virus from a lab in China was going to serve as the foundation for an emergency use authorization mRNA products being mandated by the former administration.
He takes a breath, and here he goes.
Dr. Fauci's role in the cover-up was intentional. Dr. Fauci influenced the analytical process and findings by leveraging his position to ensure the IC consulted with a conflicted list of curated subject matter experts, public health officials, and scientists. This included some of the authors of the paper, The Proximal Origin of SARS-CoV-2, and other public health experts who have been in his orbit for the last 20 plus years.
So Rand Paul still hasn't forgotten about Fauci lying to him in that one hearing, and he's having hearings on it. And apparently they've got receipts that he may have been involved in a cover-up. The Intelligence Committee all knew it was a lab leak, and that Fauci knew he had funded this lab.
The gain of function research. Yeah. I mean,
then that led to us using the certain type of vaccine.
The mRNA vaccine, I guess.
Yeah. So interesting stuff. Also happening is Cuba. Have you seen this? Apparently, we are sending spy planes, but not so subtly, over Cuba. According to the New York Times, they are flying over U.S. spy planes and drones are surveilling Cuba out in the open. I guess is like a warning sign, like something's coming. U.S. military and intelligence agencies have increased surveillance flights around and near Cuba in recent weeks. Several U.S. officials said the effort is part of a publicly visible campaign experts say is aimed at sending Cuban authorities a message: we're watching you. So, because these planes apparently can be used surreptitiously where you can't be, it's not detected that we're spying on you, but we're using these spy planes to where they can see them. And Trump keeps making comments. He did in Florida like a few days ago that what did he say? That the Cuban government, Cuba might be under our purview soon. I got to find the exact quote from this.
Yeah,
this
that's
Times
pretty
article.
much what he said, though. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Well,
he says the United States would be taking over almost immediately about Cuba. So
And it was kind of interesting to point out, and I go back to Fox News again. I saw the piece they did on this. They pointed out the vast majority of the aircraft being used are U.S. Navy P-8 Poseidons, which are basically a military version of a 737 airliner. Yeah. And they said they're not stealthy or anything. It's they're telegraphing a message. These are easily spotted off the coast in international waters. Not to say they aren't using some of the stealthy drones too.
yeah, big doings. So military officials said that unlike the run-up to the U.S. commando raid in January that seized President Nicolas Maduro of Venezuela, these surveillance flights were meant to bolster the political and economic pressure campaign on Cuban leaders rather than to foreshadow a U.S. military operation on the island. I don't know if one excludes the other. For we're telling them to get ready because we're not worried if they get ready or not. Reconnaissance flights, experts said, could have been used to eavesdrop on the Cuban government communications to determine if officials are building up troops or military vehicles. Cuba's government said the country was prepared to fight for its sovereignty.
I don't know how you can monitor their communications when they report island-wide blackouts because they don't have any electricity running.
It's less to monitor that way.
Yep.
Are they spying on their notes that they're passing back and forth via couriers that are on foot or on horseback? How's that working out?
There you go.
Yeah, it's a mess down there. We have so many talented Cuban Americans that have come out of there. It could be a great, prosperous country, but they've really screwed it up for the last 60 or 70 years. Is it 70 years now or 60 that they've...
59, I think, right?
Yeah, so going on 70 years of commie rule down there in Cuba. We like the Cuban people, but we don't like the Cuban government. So many things happening. We also have this anti-fraud task force that's going to town. And we have, unfortunately, news. We're going to have Brian Hauswirth in to talk about this a little later. What were you saying, Stephanie? The Moberly girl is...
Yeah, I think John...
John.
There's an update on this story, right? John, she'd been missing for about a week.
Yeah, Moberly girl, 16-year-old who was missing, and they did a big hunt for her, multiple days in one of the conservation areas, sort of at the Boone County, Randolph County line. She has been found dead, and charges pending for 3 people who are in custody.
Wow. Yep, Randolph County Sheriff Andy Boggs made the announcement last night that the investigation remains active and outgoing. It's a homicide investigation. Yeah, 20-year-old, a 19-year-old, and a 23-year-old face several charges, including kidnapping.
Yeah. And
not murder
obviously this sounds like it's going to be upgraded today.
That's terrible. Terrible news coming out of Moberly. Hate to see it when they're searching. You hope for the best with the searches. And often you don't get good results. Like, how long has that Nancy Guthrie thing been going on now? 100 days?
Months.
And nothing's really breaking on that lately.
Well, it pops up every once a week, and they're like, "Oh, there's something going on," and then it always comes out as kind of like fake news, right?
It's clickbaity. I think they know that they have a certain audience that's like hoping that we find out what happened to Nancy Guthrie, that will click on stories about her. No matter, it was like the sheriff's office a few days ago. Mm-hmm. Oh, they think that they have a lead, and it was like just some source saying they thought they had a lead or something like that. So yeah, it's murders, not good, obviously, and that's sad to hear up there in Moberly. We'll have Brian Hauswirth in next hour to give us the details on the charges that 3 people are facing, or the 3 people that are in custody, and yeah, not good stuff. I wonder what Boone County's murder rate is like. Well, no, that's Randolph County.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. So that won't go on our statistics. We'll have to talk to Catherine Hanaway is actually in D.C. for Police Week as well.
Right.
So I wonder if she's seen Andrew Bailey while she's out there.
I suspect there's probably been a meetup, wouldn't you think?
I would think.
He's we haven't seen him when we've been in D.C. the last couple of times. He's
I saw
awfully
him.
busy. Oh, you did?
Yeah, he came over and spoke at our gaming lawyers conference. He keynoted the lunch.
Oh, yeah? How'd that go? What did you talk about?
Great. He just talked about their priorities, and, there's some matching up. I mean, with the regulated gaming, everyone's got an interest in, anti-money laundering, provisions and other things. So he talked about kind of the FBI's role with respect to some of those things, and how, they partner with people in industry to, head some of these things off. And then talk, too, about how they're, right now, one of the next big focuses is keeping people safe during FIFA this summer. And so he had just been in Missouri to talk about that and how they are going to handle that. So
did he offer up a toast to his boss, Kash Patel, by any chance? Or
he did
maybe
not. He did not. It was pretty brief, but it was nice to see. Again, I mean, when we were there, we saw lots of Missourians. People are talking about lots of Missourians who are doing awesome things in D.C. So to have a room full of lawyers from all over the globe and to have Missouri front and center was pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool. That's like a week after we had Will Scharf giving shout outs to Missouri at this dinner with exclusive dinner with lawyers from all over the country, Republican lawyers.
Yeah.
We're punching above our weight, Missouri is, out there in D.C., that's for sure.
Senator Hawley back in the news, calling on rescinding or temporarily rescinding the federal gasoline tax. He's behind that talk on the Hill.
Oh, okay. So he's because that's a Trump thing, so maybe relations have improved between the Trump administration and Hawley if he's taken the lead on something. It seemed like Schmidt is more of their darling lately. But
Schmidt's been really busy on the golf course.
Oh, yeah. I wonder what his handicap has gotten down to with all this Mar-a-Lago golf experience he's been able to get.
What did Bryson DeChambeau? They went out golfing and Schmidt hits the ball and he says, beautiful. And Schmidt was like reposting that. Of course, if like a professional golfer told me my shot was beautiful, I'd be reposting that.
I'd be
too.
posting the heck out of that, sending it to everyone I know. No one, even like a golfer, has never said that about one of my shots.
Yeah, I'm not really good at.
Eric Schmidt, handicapped, if you believe everything online, 3.6.
Wow, he is getting a lot of golf. You can't have one that low without getting a lot of golf.
Well, if you
in.
want to like get close with Trump, you better be able to swing the golf club.
And smack one right down the middle of the fairway several hundred yards, and I bet Eric Schmidt can do it.
My golf balls don't seem to like the fairway. I need to buy the golf balls that like being on the fairway.
The ones with the beeper in them so you can find them in the rough? Yeah.
No, I need ones that are like with a little drone in them that will land on the fairway because I can't seem to manage that on my own. All right, well, this is Jennifer Pekowski filling in for Randy, and we will be right back with Make Missouri Healthy Again. I got a hot tip. Don't go away.
It's Wake Up
Welcome back to Wake Up Missouri, and I've got good news for you, and I've got some bad news for you. The good news is that, being obese is a very bad for you health-wise, but Missouri, our adult obesity rate has actually dropped from 36.4% in 2014 to 30.2% in 2024. So we're moving in the right direction.
Hey.
With 10.2% less obese people in our state. But the bad news is that weight alone isn't all you need to worry about. The number on the scale isn't the end-all be-all for your health. A landmark new review published in The Lancet in November 2025 it's the largest review ever, looked at 104 studies, and it found a big danger. Ultra-processed foods are linked to harm in every major organ system and it raises the risk of more than a dozen serious conditions, including type 2 diabetes, heart disease, stroke, depression, gut problems, and even premature death. So what exactly are ultra-processed foods? Think industrial formulations, chips, soda, packaged cookies, most breakfast cereals, frozen dinners, fast food hamburgers, I love those, sweetened yogurts, and even, and this is one that concerns me because my husband eats these all the time, and he's generally very healthy, but even many so-called healthy protein bars. They're loaded with additives, emulsifiers, flavors, colors, and sugars that make them hyper-palatable and basically addictive, and they displace real food from our plates and disrupt our metabolism or gut microbiome and our hunger signals.
There's that word again, microbiome.
Am I triggering you guys with that
Randy
one?
loves to talk about the microbiome.
Hey, so I'm on brand right here for filling in
Big
for
time.
his Wake Up Missouri. But it says, okay, so this is a separate 2025-2026 study using national data, found that people that eat the most UPFs, ultra-processed foods, had a 47% higher risk of heart disease, a heart attack, or stroke. In another recent Harvard study, UPF intake in younger women, it leads them to a 45% higher chance of precancerous colon polyps, the kind that can turn into early onset colorectal cancer. So Missouri families were eating these ultra-processed foods at the same rate as the rest of the country, which is not good. It's not food the way our grandparents knew it. The Missouri House has been working on this food as medicine bill. It doesn't look like it cleared the finish line yet. We have a day left, I guess. Governor Kehoe signed an executive order that's pushing to make SNAP benefits prioritize real, nutritious Missouri-grown food instead of junk. So that's huge. But what can you do? Shop the perimeter of the grocery store. Fresh produce, meat, eggs, dairy. Cook one extra meal from scratch this week, even simple things like eggs, beans, rice, and veggies. Read labels. If it has a long list of ingredients you can't pronounce, put it back. And swap out an ultra-processed item with something like popcorn or carrot sticks. And so every time we choose real food, you're choosing real health. So what are you going to do? Are you doing anything to avoid ultra-processed foods? You can text us 573-874-9390. Let us know your thoughts and tips.
I think it's so much easier as we head into summer, too, because just fresh vegetables, fresh
they're
food.
way yummier.
I love a salad in the summer. It's hard for me to eat, I love just tomatoes and cheese for dinner.
Yeah.
Honestly, if the tomatoes are really good, right? Or a good BLT. I think it's easier to stay away from the ultra processed foods as we head into summertime.
Yeah, and I wonder, if you make your own hamburger, is that as bad as a fast food hamburger, or is that better for you if you just fire up the grill and eat the hamburger?
I think it's better for you, for sure.
Especially if you're getting a fast food burger where it's fried on the griddle as opposed to making one at home on the grill where all the fat drips off.
Yeah. Yeah, I like barbecue. I like bratwurst. Are those ultra processed? I'm going to have to start
Probably, but
Googling
they're
these things.
so good. Jen, your data about how Missourians are getting less obese is interesting because I saw this tweet out this morning too about America's youth. They said drinking has plummeted. That in before 1980, 92% of teens had alcohol, and now only 47%. This is the percent of 12th graders who have ever consumed alcohol. So, you got the tweet too.
That was
And-
my 725 topic,
and they
Stephanie
said
Bell.
it's not
stealing my
just
thunder.
It's not just that we're drinking less. They said cigarette smoking is down from 25% to 2%. Marijuana use down from 35% to 15%, which I'm kind of surprised by that. And pregnancy from a rate of 100 girls per 1,000 to just 15.
10% used to get pregnant as a teenager in what year?
I think in that same time period, like back in the
1980. Wow, I don't think when I was in high school in the late 90s, 1 in 10 girls was getting pregnant.
80s. Wait, 100 and 1,000? What's the math on that?
10%.
Yikes.
Hello. Hello.
You're
Did
a
you go to
CPA.
the Quality Leering Center for elementary school there, Steph?
That seems really high.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I
I don't
mean,
think it was 1 in 10. I mean, I can remember like
That's why
1
I'm
or
thinking-
2.
Well,
And I was in a class of 400.
apparently we're healthier than we've ever been. Is
Well,
what this
but
article is
those
saying.
ultra processed foods, thanks for telling me after my kids are teenagers and I can't control them that those are so bad. Anyway, we have Kurt Schaefer coming up next to talk about critical minerals and nuclear power. You're going to want to hear this. Don't go away.
Radio Network headquarters. It's your morning addiction.
They won't work with ICE, and they let bad guys, they let them out on the street.
Wake Up Missouri with Stephanie Bell.
We cannot and the world should not tolerate an Iranian regime that is trying to choke off the entire world's economy.
The Zimmer News Team. And now introducing your host, Randy Tobler.
Welcome. Good morning. It's Jennifer Bukowski filling in for Randy, joined here with Stephanie Bell, John Marsh, Drake Whitman, and pleased to tell you that the director of the Missouri Department of Natural Resources, former Boone County and Cooper County State Senator, Kurt Schaefer, joins us this morning to talk about a couple of important topics. Kurt, welcome to Wake Up Missouri.
Well, thank you, Jennifer. It's good to be back on. And I like that at the beginning, what you said is like, it takes one Jennifer Bukowski to sit in. You take the place of four people.
Did I misspeak? Yeah, I'm taking all of your chairs at once. Yeah. So I wanted to talk with you. You said that there are things happening with critical minerals. And interestingly, apparently Missouri is home to 36 of 60 minerals that the U.S. Geological Survey lists as critical to our economy and national security. What are the most promising deposits right here in our state, and how close are we to developing them?
Well, it's interesting. So, we are actually in Missouri. We're one of the top mineral possessing states. We're in the top 10. Most people don't even know that.
Yeah, I had no idea.
And so, a lot of people do know that, we have been the top lead producing state for over 100 years, and we still are, in large part because in southeast Missouri, there's a geological formation called the Viburnum Trend, which is the largest lead vein, one of the largest in the world. And, it's been mined for over 200 years, and it still is. And it's interesting because you mentioned the USGS, which is the U.S. Geological Survey, they're the federal agency that determines what's a critical mineral. And so there are 60. They added a couple at the beginning of this year, and lead is one of the ones they actually added. And when you think about all the battery power that we use for everything, even though we've gone to lithium and other sources, all of those still require some level of lead. But of the 60 critical minerals, and they're determined by their economic value and importance to national security. That's how USGS determines what's a critical mineral. We have 36 of the 60 in Missouri that are economically viable. The issue that we have, and the reason, frankly, that this really hasn't come to the forefront before, is most of those 36 are commingled where there has been lead mining for over 100 years, really almost 200 years, in the state of Missouri. And so you do have some lead contamination that EPA has been, overseeing for over 20 years. And that activity of EPA really limits what can be done in those areas. So the discussion, ever since Governor Keogh came in last year and made critical mineral development in Missouri a priority, we've been dealing with EPA on how do we still protect human health and the environment, but also create an opportunity where we develop these critical minerals, because that development, it's not only important for economic development in some of these poorer counties in Missouri where these minerals are located, but we possess some of the minerals that are extremely important to the U.S. military that China, which now processes over 90% of these materials, they will not allow to come back to the U.S.
Yeah, and that's crazy. I first read about that 10 years ago. It's shocking that we weren't paying more attention to it, so I'm glad that we're focused on it. Even here, Governor Keogh and yourself are focused on it.
Yeah, so it's a main priority. So one thing that we're actually doing at the Department of Natural Resources right now is we are starting a critical mineral study, which has never been done before by the state of Missouri, which is basically going to outline, kind of what we have and what it would take for development, everything from larger scale projects down to the county and the local level of what roads are required and how those needs would be met to make sure that we have the ability to develop and process these things. But it's a tremendous potential. We're kind of dealing with some antiquated thinking of the last 20 years or so on how to deal with some of these spots in Missouri. And again, I'm a firm believer that we can protect human health and the environment and still protect national security and create economic opportunities for Missourians. There's certain elements, especially the federal government, we just have to get there.
Kurt, talk to us about some of the other things out there. We know a lot of these elements that you guys focus in on are in southeast Missouri, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. We kind of have two spots that contain most of these materials, which are, as I said, are also historic lead mining sites. So we've got 4 counties in southeast Missouri, and then we've got 2 counties actually in southwest Missouri, which are part of a bigger area that includes parts of Kansas and Oklahoma. Myself and several of my staff, we toured that site a couple weeks ago. We've been down several times to southeast Missouri. You know, the question is going to be, is there a mindset to recognize the importance to national security that Missouri can provide to protect everyone, obviously not only Missouri, but the United States by developing some materials? And, you know, we just, again, it's a mindset. We have to get EPA to that point.
And Lee Zeldin is the head of the EPA right now. How have they been to work with? Are you encouraged by that?
Yeah. You know, I'm encouraged by some things that Lee Zeldin is doing. You know, I also have some frustration in some of the things that we're still dealing with EPA that are really holdovers from, you know, 3 administrations ago, which, you know, in my personal opinion, some of those were ill-advised decisions at that time. And if they weren't recognized at that time, now, you know, 15, 20 years later, it's very easy to see that some of those decisions were not the right decisions. But you get people locked into a certain method of doing things, and sometimes at a government agency, it can be very hard to turn that around.
If you're just joining us, we have Kurt Schaefer, director of the Missouri Department of Natural Resources. We're talking about how Missouri has 36 of the 60 minerals that are critical for our security and economy. And he's joining us to discuss that this morning.
You had participated in this big conference, I think almost a year ago now, about nuclear energy. It was really well attended, lots of interest, and now the governor has come out and created this Advanced Nuclear Energy Task Force, and it just kicked off. Tell us more about the task force and where it's headed.
Yeah, so if there's two of the biggest things I think that we have going on right now that are really unique to, you know, Governor Keogh and his administration. Obviously, we talked about critical minerals, but the other one is nuclear energy development. And so, Stephanie, as you mentioned, you know, last year to kind of kick that off early in Governor Keogh's term, we had the the nuclear summit, which was put on with the University of Missouri. We had over 500 people at that event. It was held here in Columbia. And they were experts from all over the world, as well as, you know, participation from the public. Really is a kickoff to understanding how important nuclear energy is right now. Because what really has happened is, you know, also kind of looking at things that were done in the last, you know, 15 to 20 years, really from the early 2000s till about 2019, not only in Missouri but nationally, we had very little growth in baseline energy demand. And so what was being driven in large part by dollars from the federal government was money being put into intermittent power sources like wind and solar, because if you don't have an increase in demand, you can start eating around the edges and pull back on you know, carbon emissions from coal plants and some things like that. But really from 2019 on, we're seeing exponential growth, not only in Missouri but nationally, in energy demand. And that's not going away. I mean, those projections go out to at least 2040. It's not just Missouri, it's the entire country. So we're experiencing this nuclear renaissance where everyone is realizing now baseload power has to be provided by either coal, natural gas, or nuclear. And all of them have issues. Nuclear is the only one that provides dispatchable baseload power that does not have a carbon emission. So that's driving a lot of discussion. So it's not only Missouri. Really, we are in a foot race with a lot of other states in developing nuclear. So we had that nuclear summit last year, but then the governor also did an executive order creating the Advanced Nuclear Task Force, which I chair, and we had our first meeting last week. It's made up of experts and academics, and we're going to look at the things that we need to do really very quickly in the state of Missouri to secure nuclear baseload power. Part of that is the Department of Natural Resources we're doing a statewide energy plan right now. The first time that's been done in about 12 years. And that one 12 years ago was really focused on, hey, we need to do all wind and solar. And now that we're realizing that those power sources cannot provide the needed baseline power, this study is really focusing on nuclear. So one of the terms in the governor's executive order is the nuclear task force is going to carry out the objectives that come out of that study. And so that's really our biggest goal. So I'm really excited about that. We had to kick off. The governor was there. And then yesterday, the University of Missouri, you know, President Moon Choi has a president's series of speakers. And yesterday it was William Magwood, who's the director of the Nuclear Energy Agency. And it was just a fantastic lecture on the reality of baseload power and kind of cutting through some of the nonsense on what we really have to have in the United States, where we are no longer competitive with other countries because they have nuclear power, which most of Europe is, for example. And so getting to that point of where we need to be. So a lot going on in this space.
Kurt, we got word that the Public Service Commission has signed off on the 1,200-acre solar farm to go in adjacent to the Callaway plant. It's an issue you dealt with when you were a state senator and all. What's your take on solar right now?
Well, it's interesting because, my first 2 years in the Senate, I actually carried a bill to expand the Callaway nuclear plant and got my teeth kicked in and lost both those. And then, the governor came in the year after that, and the governor carried that bill for the first 2 years and also did not fare well. That bill never passed. But I think we were ahead of our time, honestly, because those same issues are now coming back up. And I think those discussions that are occurring on that concept of expanding Callaway in the Capitol right now are much different than they were, 12, 14 years ago. Obviously, that's an Ameren plant. Ameren is an investor-owned utility that's regulated by the Public Service Commission. And, the thing about nuclear is it's very costly up front, in large part because the review and construction time takes on average about 15 years. And so when you're talking about a really expensive project, and then we have a law in the state of Missouri that was passed by environmental groups and consumer protection groups after the first Callaway plant was built. It's called Construction Work in Progress, or QWIP is the acronym, which says that for a nuclear plant, you can't charge customers for building that plant until the plant is up and running. That's really what stifled Missouri's nuclear development, because nobody, Ameren or Evergy or anyone else, you can't carry a multi-billion-dollar project for 15 years with no income. Mm-hmm. And so ultimately, I think we obviously need to protect ratepayers, and I think there's an easy way to do that, but I think we're harming ratepayers by burying our head in the sand and saying that, not recognizing that nuclear has to be part of our future.
Kurt, one last question before we have to run. Every week on the Jennifer Bukowski Show, I have a Golden Cabinet segment, and every week Doug Burgum is doing more and more things on critical minerals, which is under your purview at DNR. Have you been working with the Department of Interior at all as part of this, using Missouri's 36 out of the 60 critical minerals?
Yeah, and so in large part, Doug Burgum chairs, in addition to Interior, the Energy Dominance Council, which is a new entity that was put together by President Trump. And it's the Energy Dominance Council, as well as the Department of Interior, that's really looking at that. Yeah, we've had some discussions with them. I wish they were going a little faster. But, again, I know it's a priority for Governor Kehoe, and, we're putting all of our effort into moving that forward. So hopefully we have a more positive outcome, let's say, with the federal government on this in the near future.
Thank you. Kurt Schaefer, Director of the Department of Revenue. And don't go away. We have information on alcohol next.
It's Wake
Well, these times, they are a-changin'. This is Jennifer Bukowski, filling in for Andy Tobler, here with Stephanie Bell, John Marsh, Drake Whitman. Is alcohol for old people? There's been a huge collapse, as we mentioned earlier, in drinking among high schoolers. I don't know if I believe this, but this graphic is saying that in 1980, 92% of 12th graders had consumed alcohol. Now, that is down today to 47%. So that's not good news for owners of alcohol companies, but it's a trend. And having teenage boys, I think I've noticed this as well. I mean, some of them are like, yeah, alcohol is poison. They're not interested in drinking.
Yeah, that's why I think with respect to a lot of these alcohol companies, you've seen them pick up, because didn't one of them buy Poppy, like the soda brand, and like they're picking up a lot of these non-alcoholic and other beverages, right, to try to diversify, because I think they're recognizing the trend and making sure that they cover themselves. But I think that's probably right. I mean, Drake said that he was trying, when he was underage, he was standing outside of a pet store trying to convince a lady to buy him a pet because he needed to be 18. And I'm like,
lady? Her name is, oh my gosh, it slipped me. Yeah, Kelly Fang.
Yeah, and I'm like, most teenagers, when I was a teenager, they were hanging outside the gas station trying to convince people to buy them alcohol.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and I think in like 1980, they were more lax about it, weren't they? Like it was easier for kids to buy it. They didn't crack down on it as much.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good trend, I think. I'm having kids who are about to be in high school. I'm glad to see that happening, but
well, could it also be that they're not leaving the house? They're also not getting driver's licenses. They're also not having sex.
Yeah, that's why. I mean, they say they're not smoking weed. They're not smoking cigarettes. And yeah, the pregnancy rate's way down. So maybe all the kids are just sitting in their basement playing video games. And I don't know that that's like a healthy, path either.
Huh. Well, speaking of changes, here's another one. The era of the tiger mom is over. Enter the beta mom. This is in the Wall Street Journal. For decades, high-achieving mothers felt pressure to optimize their children for success. These moms have had enough. And it's basically about moms who are now like wanting their kids to explore their interests instead of putting pressure on them to like do every single activity to try to get into one of these so-called elite colleges. They want them to be more following their passions, even though they themselves were high-achieving women. So that's an interesting turn of events because, what was that, 15 years ago that Battle Hymn of the Tiger Mother was all the rage?
Right. And
was that about 15 years ago?
Well, and I think there's been lots of articles about helicopter parents, but I think as a parent myself, you see kids who were raised by, now entering the workplace, kids who were raised by helicopter parents, and they're just incapable of functioning in modern society because mom and dad did everything for them, right? And so I think, the pendulum kind of always swings back the other way. And so I kind of agree with this. Like, I'm not, I think I wanted to expose my kids to a lot of sports, and now they're getting old enough to where they're saying, I don't really want to play this sport, or I really want to try this. And, I think it's important to let them decide. And, the rule at our house is kind of like, if you sign up, then you have to do what you said you were going to do. You need to finish the season out. But, you can decide at the end that it's not for you. And yeah, I mean, I don't think you're setting your kids up for success if you're micromanaging their life.
And just them getting into Harvard, as remote as that is, that doesn't mean they're going to succeed either necessarily.
Right.
All right. Well, next up, we have a sad case. The 16-year-old who was missing in Moberly is dead, and there's a murder investigation. We'll get into that next with Brian Hauswirth right here on Wake Up Missouri. This is Jennifer Bukowski filling in, joined here with Stephanie Bell and Drake Whitman and John Marsh. And now Brian Hauswirth, our news guy, comes in with an update, with a sad update on a missing Moberly girl. Brian, what's happening?
Yeah, I've got an updated story here at 939theeagle.com. This primarily would affect our mid-Missouri listening area for the KWS, obviously, in the Eagle listeners. This is a girl. This is a really big case out of Moberly. She's 16 years old. Her name is Kayla Huff. And I've been checking on this regularly. Checked last night around midnight. There was nothing new to report at that time, and got in this morning and saw that Sheriff Boggs about 4 o'clock in the morning and put an announcement out that her body has been found. So obviously we have a homicide investigation. And, you know, there have been 3 people not only arrested but charged in this case. They are charged different types of charges here, but one of them is kidnapping, tampering with physical evidence. There are 3 people charged in connection with this case: Christopher Hull, Hunter Ames, if you will, and then Elena Mason is also charged in the case. It's an ongoing investigation, according to Sheriff Boggs, and he is saying he can't release anything more at this time due to the nature of the investigation. But he's saying his heart goes out to Kayla's family, friends, classmates, everyone impacted by the loss. He also talks about the impact on the community as well. And I actually, on 939theeagle.com, I linked to his full statement if you want to read that. And again, he couldn't go into a whole lot of detail on that, but the court documents, to say the least, are disturbing. I'm
reading the one, and it's claiming that Ayala Mason is alleged. She's 20 years old, 5'2", 130 pounds, and allegedly told one of the people interviewed that this guy said he provided Mason with a firearm, and she did tell him that she kidnapped and shot the victim.
Which means there'd be a second person involved in that, but also beaten with a baton.
Yeah.
The victim allegedly was beaten in a baton.
What is wrong with people?
A 16-year-old girl. These are 20, 23.
Yeah.
And what was the age of the third one? Like, they're all several years older than her.
Early 20s, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And a 19-year-old.
The Elena Mason is 20. Let me look at the court documents. Hull is 23, and this Ames is 19. I worked in Moberly. I know the town. I worked there for 3 years, and it is a wonderful town. It is a wonderful town, but unfortunately, we have had in that town some horrendous murders over the years. There's a guy named Mr. Kirtley that was killed. I don't know if our listeners will remember that. Literally, it's an unbelievable crime that happened back in the 1980s. This one is horrible, and it's going to affect the community. I mean,
have we heard anything as to motive? Like, why these 3 older kids, kind of young adults, would kidnap a 16-year-old and allegedly beat her with a baton and shoot her?
No.
In the woods and get poison ivy in the process, allegedly?
She got, and it's mentioned in here, she specifically got poison ivy from being in the woods, is what she told the authorities. If you read all the court documents, and I have, and they're, as you know, Jen, you've looked at them, they are heavily redacted. There's really no indication of a motive on this. There is no indication of a motive, if there even is a motive on this.
I bet it's a romance thing.
Oh.
That's if I had to guess.
Foul play. She'd been missing or not heard from for 6 days. In Jennifer, it's very possible.
I'm just speculating, but
that's certainly not mentioned in the court documents on this. But they've got 3 people here. What generally will happen in a case like this, they'll get all 3 of them and interrogate them, and obviously separately. And sometimes, and we've already got some information in these court documents. Sometimes they're all looking at serious time.
Yeah.
You're a defense attorney. So sometimes people...
This is very serious. And you don't often see a 20-year-old female, small female, shooting another female.
And beating her with a baton.
It brings back,
5'2", 130 pounds, beating...
it brings back memories, John, of the Elizabeth Olten thing, I mean, she was, 8 and killed by, a 11-year-old?
16.
So, yeah, I mean...
15, 16-year-old
was like
neighbor.
15 years old.
Yeah. I mean, and just 2 young girls, just...
That was in St. Martin's in 2009. For our KWS listeners, they'll remember it. And what people forget about that case about Alyssa Bustamante, she dug 2 graves that day, not 1 but 2. And there was one girl found in the grave. There was a second grave that was dug. We don't know who that was meant for. That's absolutely is what happened. In fact, Sheriff Greg White told me on that case at the time he was sheriff. He said in 33 years it was the worst murder he'd ever seen. It was horrible on that. But this is
this Moberly one. There's 4 families
too.
now whose lives are forever changed. 4 young people, 1 dead, 3 lives who are just ruined.
Yeah, and again, we
probably allegedly, if all they have the presumption of innocence. Who knows? But just terrible.
And it also a car broke down. We can read this. A car breaks down on West Outer Road. She allegedly when she was kidnapped was apparently put in the trunk in here. But the bottom line is that they're not charged with murder at this time. The investigation continues. Jennifer, you're a defense attorney, but they have enough to hold them, obviously, without bond in this case.
It's looking like they might have enough to charge murder. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
Sidebar to this story, we reported about the Moberly woman who was handcuffed in the front seat of a patrol car with the keys in it, managed to scoot over, get in it, and drive it off. That was allegedly
Why was she in the front seat?
That was allegedly Mason.
Yeah, it was allegedly Mason, the 20-year-old. Yes,
no way.
Yes. And I didn't. And
she did have another criminal case when I looked her up on CaseNet.
Yeah.
Is that for that?
Very well
presumably.
I've got to check that out.
Yeah, you'll have to check that. The charge I found was obviously for this that she is charged with. But
then I bet they didn't put her in the front seat of the patrol car this time.
Well,
they should have put her in the trunk like she did.
Let's come on now. Okay, Randy.
Yeah. The case is just it's very hard, but Moberly is a very tight-knit community, and it is a poor community. Our listeners will know that. I live there, but they care about one another, and there are a lot of businesses. I have a story up, and I put the town square in there because that downtown is really the heart of that community, and her photo was in all the business windows and stuff, and people don't have a lot of money, but they care, and they were out donating their time searching this very remote area. But think about, to Stephanie, your point, if what's in the court document is true, she was placed in the trunk, beaten severely with a baton, then shot. Think about how terror her last moments would have been. Mm-hmm. It's just, it is horrible. It is horrible.
This line on Mason, that patrol car, she spontaneously admitted that was May 7th, 2026 that allegedly happened.
Yeah.
Where she took the patrol car.
Which would have been, well, we don't know, and we don't know yet when the actual murder took place. We don't know yet. She was reported missing on May 6th. Mm-hmm. So we'll again, was that before or after? We'll see. She was reported missing on the 6th, and they've been very tight-lipped about it. But there's one other thing more for our reporters. We have a lot of reporters that listening, and I know the judges listen in Randolph County. You're both attorneys. And the media, several media outlets have tried, because they're all going to be in court today. And the judge up there denied the media request, saying you have to give 5 days notice. And it's not, I have no say in this, but I would say if the judge is listening, there was no way for these reporters to give you 5 days notice because the charges have just come in.
Yeah.
So I'm a little surprised by that, but maybe they will make an exception. But as of right now,
it's unusual given the high profile. Nature of this case that they would deny a media request.
Yeah, but the judges have discretion, as you know. But in Boone County, the camera, I'm confident, would be approved. Now, it could be that there's something else. Maybe they didn't file it correctly, but I do know all the camera requests that I see have been denied. So pen and paper, which is quite frankly, you get as much information anyway. But
Brian, kind of inside baseball for you and me. Do you know if Randolph County has the cameras in the courtroom coordinator, a reporter coordinator up there or not?
Bill Peterson did that for years at Quicks and Cress. Okay. He was there for, Bob Pretty called him a 500-watt lifer, meaning it was a compliment because he did, but he's retired. To the best of my knowledge, it's all handled internally now. Quicks lost most of its staff. I know Miles Carter up in Carrollton is trying to get that station up there. But as far as a media coordinator, Moberly Monitor Index has had cutbacks. I believe that's all being done at the court at last check. So, but the judges have discretion on that. But we'll see. And the bottom line, Jen, is they're charged with this, but because they're jail without bond and they have serious charges, they can build their case. So we'll see. I don't know that they necessarily have to rush today to file charges, but on the murder, but they certainly could. But we'll see what happens. But that is the latest.
Thank you for that update,
Thank you, guys.
Brian Hauswirth.
Thank you all.
All right, and next up, folks, we have That Was All Except for This. What is it, John Marsh?
Well, I'm wondering if the Chinese serve the president Springfield-style cashew chicken.
All right, we'll get into that next. Don't go away. It's Wake Up Missouri.
It's
Except for this.
The last time Donald Trump came to China in 2017, the state banquet menu reportedly included kung pao chicken, coconut chicken soup, tomato beef, and poached star grouper. It was a diplomatic tightrope walk to a guy who generally has 2 Big Macs, 2 Filet-O-Fish, and a chocolate milkshake washed down with a Diet Coke. This time around, crispy beef ribs, roast duck, and tiramisu on the menu.
Ooh.
Beijing specialties include Peking duck and the richly flavored jjajangmyeon, a dish of wheat noodles topped with soybean paste. The menu also included lobster and tomato soup, stewed seasonal vegetables, slow-cooked salmon with mustard sauce, a pan-fried pork bun, and what was described as a trumpet shell-shaped pastry. We think back many years to Richard Nixon's historic ice-breaking visit. His menu featured egg drop soup with bamboo fungus, prawns prepared 2 ways, and shark's fin. So who's the more energetic president when it comes to sitting down? Donald Trump, kung pao chicken, and a Big Mac.
That sounds the menu sounds good though. I love Chinese food, and I like yeah. That doesn't sound too weird. There were no scorpions on sticks, Jen.
Well, they improved it. That's what he's saying. Like last time around, I guess, did he not eat as much? And this time they're like, what will these Americans enjoy?
Yeah, and that's what they said. They said the steak and the tomato sauce was kind of a nod to Donald Trump liking his meat very well done. So they complied.
But no one does steak like America. I mean, you've been to Europe. They cook the steak well done. I never order steak. It's like in the UK, the meat quality is disgusting and the cook is disgusting.
Yeah, UK, it's not great food, but I can't believe Trump likes well done steaks.
Well, he does.
With ketchup.
Yeah.
With ketchup.
That's terrible.
Not my president anymore. That's terrible.
I have this friend who really likes A1 sauce.
That would be me.
Me too.
I wasn't going to out you, Jim.
Best sauce ever. Many people are saying nothing makes a steak like. Well, actually, I primarily like it on my baked potato.
But it's really
it's a little different.
But I mean, food is like very cultural and very important, right? Like, I mean,
well, this is good diplomacy. Serve something they'll enjoy eating instead of them sitting there hungry and crabby, and having to pretend to eat stuff that's disgusting. We were in Japan and we went to one of these hotels that's made with the paper walls, and they put you in the outfits, and you're like opening and closing these sliding doors, and they served us this like 15-course meal, and it was one crazy, disgusting thing after the other. And Britt and I, we're like, it's for us, there's people watching us and clearing these courses, and we're trying to make it look like we've eaten stuff. It was
the only thing. What is that?
It was bad.
It's
our one kid will eat anything. He ate stuff. The other 3 of us were just trying to pretend. We had no dog to kick it to.
Urchin. I once went to like a sushi place, and it was like one of those coursed things, and it was the sea urchin. That was a no for me.
That's pretty high dollar stuff too.
It was rough.
Yeah, it is high dollar.
You can't spit
the
it
Japanese
out.
call it uni.
Yeah.
Well,
I really like sushi, but sea urchin was just one level too far for me.
Well, it looked like a cool dinner. The talks are underway. They did a readout of these Chinese talks with China. I wonder if he's saying China. Chinese virus. Is he saying that over there? Probably not.
I don't think he's taking the tour of Wuhan. Not going to Wuhan.
It's interesting timing, though. Rand Paul having this hearing. It was explosive yesterday as Trump's on the plane to China, where people now apparently are calling for Fauci to be indicted after this COVID origins hearing. So we're having a COVID origins hearing as Trump is on the plane. Do you think Trump
CIA whistleblowers and the whole 9 yards?
Yeah. Testified that CIA whistleblowers testified the Biden administration buried analysis concluding a lab leak was the most likely origin of the COVID-19 pandemic in an explosive hearing. As Trump's getting on the plane, do you think we planned that out to remind them hey, we haven't forgotten about this? Or do you think it's just a coincidence?
I don't know.
Rand Paul and the president. Yeah, I don't know.
No, I don't really believe in coincidences. I think it's all probably planned.
Yeah. Well, it was not until after the 2024 election that the outgoing Biden administration directed the CIA to issue an assessment, not because of new intelligence, but so officials could walk out the door claiming there was nothing left to find. That's what Rand Paul is claiming. It was not analysis. It was a cleanup operation. Dang. So, yeah, I guess Rand Paul, he's not too pleased with Fauci. But it looks like Donald Trump was much better fed this time around. And, the outfits of the different, we saw Laura and Eric Trump there looking beautiful. And
Elon being Elon, making funny, memeable faces.
Yeah, he was making faces at the food, wasn't he?
Or like I don't know.
Or maybe the people.
Yeah.
I don't know. He was sitting at the dinner making a funny face. And I guess there's speculation as to what exactly was going on there.
He looks like a child, like at the dinner, like just making the silliest faces. It's good. If you haven't seen it, you gotta look it up.
I like the entourage Trump rolls in with.
Yeah.
Like, here's people from our amazing companies. What you got? Like, we've built all of these things, and here we all are, China. It's a sign of respect and also a sign of power. Power moves. I like it. All right. Well, next up, we're going to be joined by Attorney General Catherine Hanaway, who is just killing it, winning in Missouri Supreme Court, arguing today in D.C. She's doing so much, and you're going to want to hear about it next, right here on Wake Up Missouri. Bukowski filling in for Randy Tobler, joined by Stephanie Bell, John Marsh, Drake Whitman, and delighted to tell you that Missouri's Attorney General Catherine Hanaway, who is having a very big week, by the way, joins us now. Welcome, Attorney General Catherine Hanaway.
Wow, when they introduced Dr. Tobler and your voice came on, Jennifer, I was like, wow, what an upgrade.
Oh.
That was so exciting.
Well, speaking of exciting, you've been having a very big week with 2 wins in the Missouri Supreme Court, plus you're in D.C. to argue on a case where Missouri is under defending a Trump executive order. Let's start with the Missouri Supreme Court wins. I know Stephanie Bell is pretty familiar with these already, but tell us what happened and why it's important.
Well, Stephanie and her firm were absolutely key to these 2 big wins. I mean, these 2 decisions should answer any questions permanently about whether we're having our congressional elections this year in the new districts. And so these 2 particular cases were over compactness and whether it's the new maps or the old maps that are used during the pendency of the submission of the signatures for the initiative petition. And the court, in 7-0 decisions in both cases, made the very same day the case were argued, which is really quick for our
I've never
court.
seen that, yeah.
I know, it's so fantastic. They said, yes, the districts are compact enough, and yes, you use the new districts. So that should be it. We've already had the case heard over whether you can redistrict mid-decade, whether the calling of the special session was, constitutional, all those things. We've won every case.
Yeah, so much winning. But now Boone County Circuit Clerk Breonna Lennon is claiming that she might not be using the new maps despite the ruling on Tuesday. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I have lots of thoughts about what the civil and criminal penalties are for a clerk who doesn't use the appropriate congressional maps. And I think we'll be having some communications with her about that.
We heard from Denny Hoskins, who sounded off and went as far to say that Breonna Lennon's defying the word of the Supreme Court.
Yeah, absolutely she is. She's defying the word of the Supreme Court. She's defying the law. She's put herself in a very... And what's super interesting is she had actually asked for some opinion on which maps would apply prior to the Supreme Court decision. So, she thought that the Supreme Court decision was going to be binding once it was made until it was made in a way that she didn't like. So that's super interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah, but kudos to your team and to Lou Capozzi and Kathleen, who argued at the Supreme Court. I mean, it was, wonderful working with them. And, they've been doing a lot of important work beyond just these redistricting cases. And one other important development this week, you had a sting operation related to the illegal gambling machines. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, in 4 different counties, we seized machines, a total of 31 machines, about $70,000 in cash. And as people think about these numbers, like $70,000 sounds like a lot, but not, approaching $1 billion. Except
it's not Somali money or anything.
Yeah, but it's just 31 machines out of a total of 25,000 machines we know are in Missouri. And that's just 1 week's take. These guys, go to all their machines every week and collect the cash. So you can get to $1 billion pretty quickly statewide. And so I want to be especially grateful to the Ashland and the Columbia City Police Chiefs, the sheriff in Dallas County. This was really a coordinated effort with the Highway Patrol. And look, once we take these machines, then you have to have a place to put them. And the Boone County Sheriff stepped up and said we could store some in his new training facility. So, it's all hands on deck working on this project.
Attorney General Hanaway, you're in Washington, D.C. today for a court hearing where Missouri is leading a 12-state coalition defending President Trump's executive order on election integrity. Can you explain the core provisions of the EO, particularly the citizenship verification list and the USPS mail ballot security measures, and why Missouri took the lead in defending this?
Yeah, so the president put out an executive order that just said, look, we got to have all these federal agencies that have the ability to verify citizenship. Let's use all those resources to compare that to state voter rolls and make sure that we only have citizens registered to vote. And then once we have those lists verified, let's have the U.S. Postal Service use the verified list to determine whether they're only mailing ballots to people who are on the list. And he did not prescribe for the U.S. Postal Service precisely how they'd have to do that. Like, he wants the Postal Service to come up with the most efficient way to do it. And as soon as he put out the executive order, a number of blue states sued and said, hey, we're going to oppose this. We're going to fight this. Obviously, they want to have the flexibility to have whoever they want on their voter rolls. And so we were really proud to step up. And look, we are so fortunate in Missouri to have as our Solicitor General a guy named Lou Capozzi, who Stephanie was kind enough to mention. He is a real election law expert, a nationally recognized election law expert. So he is absolutely the right guy to be taking the lead on this case, and Missouri's proud to take the lead on this case.
We need to get him on the show. But in that case, plaintiffs are saying that the executive order overreaches federal authority or infringes on state election administration. What's your response to those claims that it's a federal overreach?
Yeah, I just say it's a great tool that the president is making available to states to make sure that they don't have illegal aliens on their list. And the only reason that states are fighting it is because they don't want to do that kind of verification. And so it seems crazy to me that anyone who really cares about the integrity of the ballot and that every person entitled to vote gets to vote once and have that vote count full weight would have any resistance to this measure.
Yeah. I mean, why are they? That's so interesting to me. The people that are pushing against voter ID just happen to be ones that are elected into office as Democrats. A lot of the times they're the ones loudest voices against voter ID when most of the people in the country want it.
General, Can you talk to us about what the next plan is for your legal team? Reference the judge issuing the temporary restraining order with American Shaman and the Kratom product.
Yeah, so our next move is to seek a preliminary injunction. We knew we were being very aggressive, asking for a temporary restraining order, which is an emergency measure where the other side doesn't get to put on any evidence. And we don't really put on evidence either. The judge sort of has to rule on the pleadings. So the next move will be to have a hearing on our motion for a preliminary injunction. I feel really good about that. And I also, because people are dying from this drug, felt like we had to, sort of throw the Hail Mary pass and try and get the TRO. But the judge said, look, I think there's enough of a dispute that we should hear evidence from both sides on this. And so that's where we're going next. But I think the evidence is pretty overwhelming that they are falsely advertising this drug as non-addictive and non-intoxicating.
And Attorney General Catherine Hanaway, you're out there during Police Week in D.C., well, for part of your very busy week here. How is that going? What has been the messaging? And have you seen Andrew Bailey?
I haven't seen him. I feel like I'm sort of trailing behind in a shadow. I think there's a pretty good chance that I'll see him this afternoon at a round table at the White House. Everybody I've talked to while I've been out here said, "Oh, I just saw Andrew half an hour before I was there." So this is a week that is meant to recognize everything that our men and women in the police force do for Missourians, do for our country, and to especially honor those who have made the ultimate sacrifice and given their life. And it's just such a fun time to be in D.C. because everywhere you turn, somebody's got on a badge. There's a cruiser from somewhere, like all over the country. People are here. I think there are 11 of us attorneys general who are here. And even though it's a very solemn occasion to mark the deaths of these police officers, it's really heartwarming. The plane I was on was met by a color guard escort for the parents of a fallen officer. It's kind of everywhere you go here in D.C. And that is what we should do to honor the men and women who make this choice, make this sacrifice, and their families. And I'm so grateful to all of those who make the choice to become a police officer and don't have to make the ultimate sacrifice. I want to make sure that they know every day we back the blue.
And it sounds like there's no rest for the weary, I guess. I heard today that Governor Kehoe's income tax plan already has a lawsuit filed against it.
Huh.
I wouldn't be surprised with the Born Alive Abortion Survivors Act, I think crossing the finish line that they draw a lawsuit on that. You're charged with I guess representing the state and
defending
in
the
suits
state.
in suits like that. So you anticipate a pretty busy summer?
I anticipate a very busy summer. We also have the lawsuit the mayor filed challenging the state takeover of the police board. We already tried that case last week, the same facts, in front of Judge Green. The good news is he hasn't signed any orders yet. He's asked for proposed orders by June 1st, but from the bench, he gave us a pretty good indication that he does not believe that the state takeover of the St. Louis Police Department violates the Hancock Amendment. And I think it'll be the same result in the mayor's case. But yeah, we're going to have a busy summer.
Excellent. Well, we appreciate you and all your hard work, Attorney General Catherine Hanaway. Thanks for joining us this morning on Wake Up Missouri.
Thanks so much. Really appreciate being on.
It's really so important, Jennifer, because, the governor can announce his priorities and try to do all of these things, but without the teamwork of the attorney general and their sharp legal work, he can't really, it's just like Trump. The liberals, when they can't win on the policies, they're just going to sue. So you have to have this great team of attorneys there ready to back you up on those good policies, because that's what that's the whole liberal playbook right now is just sue.
And they did with the map, with the special session, and there's been so much winning by Team Hanaway and Team Ellinger Bell. We appreciate you. All right, we'll be right back for the Morning Bell.
It's Wake
Yesterday, the S&P and the NASDAQ set records. Chip and other tech stocks soared, and all of the Mag 7 except for Microsoft were up. And Jen, you've got some chip news out just now, right?
A huge development. The United States has just cleared NVIDIA to sell advanced chips to 10 Chinese firms. This could be a $50 billion market. President Trump picked up CEO Jensen Huang in Alaska on the way to China, and a deal has seemingly been struck between the United States and China. We weren't letting our chips go over there, was my understanding, and now we're going to let a lot of them over there.
It's a big deal. So that yesterday the NASDAQ was up 1.2%, the S&P up 0.58%, the Dow down 0.14%. Again, when we look at the sectors, we had utilities and financials down big, but up big technology and communication services. Now, I'm going to call this in the realm of business news. I saw the story, I found it really interesting about Harvard. Jen, did you see this story?
No, what's up with Harvard?
They are talking about limiting the number of A's that they give out because apparently there's inflation when it comes to grades. So a faculty committee.
Is inflation the business angle you're going with here?
Yes. And I mean, I think like teaching kids during college that not everyone's a winner is an important lesson to learn in college, right? You don't go to Harvard to get a participation. I mean, I guess you kind of do get a participation because as long as you pass, you get a degree. Anyway, I don't think we should be giving out participation trophies. So there's a faculty committee that is voting on a proposal to cap the number of A's per class to fight grade inflation. The measure would limit professors to giving A grades to just a fifth of the class plus 4 extra students. It kind of sounds like grading on a curve. Like I had classes where we were graded on a curve. They said A's accounted for 60% of grades awarded to Harvard undergrads last year, compared to 25% in 2005. You can't tell me 60% of those kids deserve A's. Then it doesn't mean anything when you give everyone an A.
Yeah, and apparently 55 Harvard students tied for the school's top GPA award last year, and it used to be clinched by only 1 or 2 students per year.
So now you have 55 nerdy kids out there who are like, I was valedictorian, and they don't have to say one of 55. You think, oh my gosh, you were valedictorian at Harvard? Oh yeah, all of us were. This makes it meaningless.
What about the overachievers angle? Some of those, the big schools, Harvard and Yale and all. I mean, there's kids who are overachievers in their before they got to college. Maybe they're still doing it, but I think 60%
we want well-rounded people. I say if they have 55 people for valedictorian, then I think we have an arm wrestling tournament to decide who's the ultimate valedictorian.
A lot of those kids, the ones that got in on merit, which who knows what percent that actually is, instead of other things, they can't handle it when they get there because they have been the most brilliant person the whole time growing up. They've been the smartest in every class. They were valedictorian. Now they're in an environment where a lot of the people are the same way, and so they're not the smartest, and a lot of them have trouble handling the situation.
Well, and those kids...
And these extra A's have probably been helping with that.
Well, and
now they're going back.
Well, yeah, and I struggled with that, and I worry about it for my kids, too, because you're used to, in the younger years, like, things coming very easy to you. So you never really learn the process of like, oh my gosh, I don't get it. I have to work hard and like extra to like understand a concept or to get better at something, because for a lot of these kids, things come really easy. Then you get to college and you're like, oh my gosh, it's not, an immediate thing that I just get. Right.
Yeah.
And so for a lot of like, gifted kids or kids who are kind of in that high achieving category, like learning to like overcome the struggle of being bad at something for the first little while is something that is important for kids. Anyway, I
learned that lesson younger.
I don't think everyone needs an A. I think this is a good policy.
Yeah. I think the big thing with the NVIDIA story is a big one on the economic scene.
That's such a pivot, isn't it?
Wow.
Huh. I wonder why they decided to do that. All right. Well, Murdaugh, that very high-profile murder case, his murder convictions got reversed. We've got that and the Anti-Fraud Task Force to tackle next right here in Wake Up, Missouri. Don't go away. To Wake Up Missouri, it's Jennifer Bukowski filling in. And there was big news out of South Carolina yesterday. The state Supreme Court has overturned Alex Murdaugh's double murder convictions and ordered a brand new trial. For those of you who may have missed it, back in 2023, Murdaugh, the once prominent Low Country lawyer, was convicted of shooting and killing his wife Maggie and their son Paul at the family home in June 2021. He got 2 consecutive life sentences. Yesterday, the South Carolina Supreme Court threw those convictions out in a unanimous 5-0 ruling. The reason? They say Murdaugh did not get a fair trial because the Colton County Clerk of Court, Rebecca Becky Hill, improperly interfered with the jury. Have you ever heard of that? A case being overturned? I mean, you get it because of the jurors, right? Because of some sort of misbehavior by the jurors, but from the clerk? I mean, I don't think it's unheard of, but the things this lady did, I've never seen before. Check this out, Stephanie. During the trial, Hill reportedly spoke to jurors outside the courtroom and told them things like, "Don't let Murdaugh fool you. Watch his body language closely," and basically suggested they shouldn't trust his testimony. The Supreme Court called her actions shocking, disgraceful, and unprecedented. They said that she placed her fingers on the scales of justice, which tainted the jury and violated Murdaugh's right to an impartial jury. The court stressed that the trial judge and the lawyers on both sides didn't know that this was happening. So even though everyone worked hard on the 6-week-long trial, that was covered extensively and nationally, they had no choice but to reverse it. Yeah, podcast, everything. So she had a book deal, if I recall correctly, and she was definitely meddling with those jurors. And the clerk is the one that's in charge of, like, calling the jurors in, telling them what time they have to be there. So they're like kind of the taskmasters of getting the jury picked and then getting them fed and different things like that oftentimes. So there's like this connection there that maybe the lawyers and the judge don't see when you are having a criminal jury trial. But yeah, so that's interesting. And
crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, so we'll get more Murdaugh. There's already been like 10 Netflix specials, all these other things about that case.
It's kind of moot, though. I mean, he's not going anywhere. Wasn't he convicted on all sorts of years on the fraud side of the case?
He has the fraud side, too. And he'd be held because I'm sure they're going to retry the guy. They have reams of evidence, all the cell phone stuff. I mean, it was really interesting forensic testimony by the cell phone experts that they can do now that's been advanced just since I've been trying cases with cell phone data. They could tell like that the phone was altered so that someone picked it up and turned it to like log in. They can tell so much with these phones now. It's unbelievable. But yeah, that's a big development. And then another development, which I am all about, is our amazing Vice President, J.D. Vance. He is doubling down. He's telling all 50 states that they crack down on Medicaid fraud or lose their funding. And he did a double take during this hearing this presser yesterday when he heard something that Dr. Oz had to say. Check this out.
So, Dr. Oz, I want to make sure I understand this well. So you're saying that we kicked off 800 fraudulent healthcare providers off of the Medicare system, and not a single one of them called the government and said, hey, you made a mistake.
We've had a handful of calls. We're not sure they're legitimate yet, but it's less than 20 out of 800, and we're auditing them.
Unbelievable. So at least 780 are not even trying to claim that they're not fraudulent. And again, those are businesses that we were giving hundreds of millions, in some cases billions of dollars to, not to provide services, but to make a fraudster rich. It's just completely insane. Drives home the scale and scope of the problem.
This is something that I think is useful for us to get out there for midterms, because I am infuriated by this. We have been giving criminals all of this money because our government is so inept and not doing proper checks on these people. You have these hospices in California that are completely fake, that are getting all of this money. You've got these daycares. You've got in Columbus, Ohio, there's an explosive report out of there by the Daily Wire.
I don't even think they're done reporting. They were doing it in like a series, and it just kept getting worse and worse every day. But the money that's just getting lit on fire.
Yeah, and you know what they did? They used the data that DOJ released before it shut down to be like, what's the biggest anomaly that you see here in the country with the spending? And it led to the second biggest Somali community in the country. They weren't looking for Somalis and then finding fraud. They found like the most, biggest red flags. And then sure enough, it's a whole bunch of problems there. But the problem with this is not only are hardworking Americans driving to work, working every day, not having fake daycares or hospices and driving around Maseratis and super fancy cars, but criminals are getting enriched by this. And then they're kicking back and electing their people that might keep that racket running. It's really, really beyond the pale.
Well, and then you hear the conversations that are happening in Jefferson City. We don't have enough money for this. We don't have enough money for this. And you think about all this, and a lot of it's federal money, or at least it was the initial fraud. And it's like, well, hey, if we eliminate the waste, fraud, and abuse, then we can all have more money to pay those prices at the pump, and perhaps
pay down our debt. How about that? Not borrow from China.
Or we'd have more money, or the feds would have more money to send to our state and use in a way that we might need it. That's not fraudulent, right?
I can't believe how this works. The states just send a generic bill to the feds. They're like, hey, we spent this many billions, send us money. And that's what happens. The feds then just send them the money. You can't see the roles. What's her face? The Secretary for Agriculture is like, give us the names of the people you have on SNAP, because there's duplicate names on there. There's dead people on there. Give us the names. The states are fighting tooth and nail not to give the names of that. They don't want to give any specificity of what we, the American taxpayer, are paying for when they send those bills. And you can't rely on a lot of these states like Minnesota to be doing a thorough job of making sure that this is on the up and up. This is our system.
Apparently.
This is insane. In the age of computers and AI and everything, this is our system. I don't know why. I'm just very mad about this. This has been going on for so long. It's enriching criminals. It's bankrupting our country. It's making us vulnerable on the world stage. If we're not rich, we can't stay, powerful and free. And just to be safe, we need to be rich. And we're bankrupting ourselves, giving the money to criminals.
And it's right in front of your face. I mean, this Leering Center, the fact that there were these hundreds of daycare centers all around that that weren't open, and it takes a citizen journalist to be like, that seems kind of weird.
Yeah, even though people have been bringing that up to Waltz et al. For years.
Right. And so, but the fact that we pay all of these government workers, many of whom are charged with implementing or overseeing or administering these types of programs, and no one is being held accountable. Yeah. It takes, because the same thing, it's a journalist in Ohio that's exposing this massive fraud. It's like, what are these people who are on the government dime that are being paid to
by
administer
us.
And oversee
these programs? They're being paid by us, and they're giving away our money to criminals.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that is money that I would rather see in my pocket, or fixing potholes, or paying down the debt so that we don't cripple our kids with a debt that they won't be able to pay off. I don't know. So I'm glad J.D. Vance is all over it and demanding the states. He said he's issuing an ultimatum. He's like, look, his anti-fraud task force, he's like, a third of all hospices in a third of these programs in L.A. are fraudulent. It's not like they're all in L.A. It's not like a third of people who are dying in our country are all in L.A. So they're keeping track of it. And I think, they're involving multiple departments like Ag, obviously DOJ. All of these secretaries are working under Vance to try to root this out. I think it'll save us money, make us hopefully in a better position, a stronger position going forward.
Yeah, it has to. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's really hard to even understand. And now that it's been exposed in multiple states, you just wonder, is this occurring in every state?
Yeah.
I'd like to think that if it was actually happening in Missouri, that Auditor Fitzpatrick would be all over it, because he's been all over a lot of people in, oh, you were buying this that you shouldn't have bought, and this, that, that's part of his job. But I think he's been a great watchdog for our state. And I have to think, if you're sitting in a role like his and you see these other, states and these stories, that you're probably now, looking extra at everything going on in your own state, hopefully.
Well, I think another thing we need to do, which is what is argued in the Daily Wire piece, is we need to take away the expansion of the definition of Medicaid. So you can't have, I went to check on mom and dad and give me a check for doing that as part of, because what they did was they're like, okay, it's expensive to put people in nursing homes, so we're going to allow you to have nurses at your house. Then they expanded that to helpers to carry groceries or do chores and stuff like that. The problem is there's a lot of incentive to go to the doctor and be like, I need help with that. And then you get your family members on the payroll with these payroll company people. But you don't know that this is even happening or that it's actually avoiding someone going to nursing home.
Because I think the Democrats were saying, well, these people would have gone to nursing homes, so it's cheaper anyway. And they're like, no, this number.
The 65-year-old would not have been in a nursing home.
Yeah, they said no one's chomping at the bit asking the doctor to put you in a nursing home. But, if you can pay your daughter to hang out with you all day and get your groceries, they said it's just exploded.
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was interesting, too, when Trump 2.0 first came on the scene. Some of these same things were brought up about Medicaid abuse especially. And the liberals said, well, it's because, the Trump regime came in here and cut all these bodies from the centers for, Medicaid and all that stuff. And the numbers didn't bear it out when they checked it. It was only in the few hundreds that were let go in D.C. out of thousands and thousands. So their arguments don't carry water.
Yeah. That's for sure. It's messed up. It's messed up, the fraud. I'm glad they're going after it because we can't just keep handing over money we don't have, our money, to criminals and bankrupting our country. All right, well, we will be back with leftovers shortly. Everyone got a leftover?
Yep.
We'll get to them when we get back on Wake Up Missouri. Don't go away.
It's Wake
Welcome back to Wake Up Missouri. It's been a pleasure filling in for Randy here today. This is Jennifer Bukowski, joined by Stephanie Bell, Drake Whitman, John Marsh, and it's time for leftovers. Who's got a leftover?
Speaking of leftovers, I got one. If you're going to a baseball game this summer, you can take your leftovers. Some Milwaukee Brewers fans went viral because according to the baseball stadium policies, you can bring in a gallon-sized Ziploc bag. So they brought in a gallon-sized Ziploc bag full of spaghetti with a fork and apparently some garlic bread too. And they said the home stadium allows you to carry gallon-sized clear bags. So the spaghetti crew thought they wouldn't have any problem. And they said, yeah, go for it. You know, stadium prices are high. Bring your leftovers into the stadium and enjoy your spaghetti dinner out of a bag, apparently.
It's cool.
That's one way to do it. Drake, what you got?
Well, the PGA Championship started today, and so for all those who love watching golf, you can watch that now. Actually, can you watch the PGA Champ? Who watches golf?
My parents.
My dad.
Yeah, no one that's below the age of 50 watches golf. I don't get it, but if you want to watch it, I guess you can. So there you go.
Actually, my husband and son were watching the one that Rory just won. Is that the Masters?
Masters.
Yeah, Masters. I hate Rory.
A lot of people, maybe I'm older than you, but younger than my parents watch it. John, do you have a leftover?
Yeah, I think I go back to the announcement that the 10 Chinese tech firms are now going to be eligible to get Jensen Huang's number 2 chip in the world, the H200.
That's
And I think the backstory on this, a lot of folks don't realize where 100% of those chips, that H200 from NVIDIA are made. They're made in Taiwan.
All right. Yeah, that was big breaking news that we got here this morning. Well, I have less world impacting news, but I find this interesting. So I've been a Wonder Bra type user. I mean, I'm not opposed to using a little push-up bra with a little padding in my day. But
some
now
Spanx.
men,
I love me a good pair of Spanx.
Shapewear can help you look svelte in your dresses. It can help your look. But now guys are getting in the age of looks maxing for the gents. There's this new underwear that you can buy to make you look more muscular and a heck of a lot more muscular. It's basically like
it's not. It's a t-shirt. Right?
Yeah, it's like a nylon.
John, yeah, that's where we were all.
It's kind of like shapewear.
So I was waiting for clarification there. The jokes kind of write themselves, but okay.
It's like a new type of Superman underwear. It's like shapewear for women, but it's making you look like you have big shoulders, abs, pecs, and biceps.
Yeah, it's like.
What do we think of this?
It wasn't it the Kardashians? Was it Skims where they had the shorts that had like the fake butt in them, or they had extra padding in the booty?
Yeah, that's the thing.
They also had the one that had a little bit more enhancement in the front. Shall we?
Yeah,
we
the
say,
hair.
Right?
It was like a what were those called? They were underwear with a like a toupee on them.
Well, there's also plenty of things to enhance the bosoms. That's been a long time thing. So. They say, women, welcome to not being able to trust what you see either.
I just think,
it's easier than all those working out in the reps.
I think it's fine if you, have something important coming up and you really want to look great. But ultimately, you're going to have to wake up next to that person every day. And they're not waking up with this fake T-shirt on. I think the same thing about makeup. Women, take care of your skin. If you look like a troll without makeup, start with skincare. Same thing. You can go to an event or have something special and wear whatever the heck you want. Go for it. But in the end, if you're trying to find a partner, they're going to see the real you.
Well, also, if you start out that way, where you're wearing this kind of suit, you can't just stop it. You can't today I'm going to be buff and fit, and the next day the same people are going to see you. You got to wear the same undershirt, or else they're going to be like, what happened to all your muscles, dude? That's the problem with wearing
Clark Kent today.
You can't get too patty of a bra because then you'll have to wear that same thing every day or people are going to notice what's happening there.
Yeah, for sure.
You can't look like a double D one day and a B the next.
Then you got a sports bra and you're all looking like a uniboob the next day and all flat-chested. That's kind of a thing. But yeah.
John, are you going to ask for some of these new underwears for Father's Day or anything?
Sure, why not?
All right. Drake.
Wear them backwards.
What do you think? It's easier than going to the gym and lifting weights, Drake? Or are you going to be buying some of these new shapewear for men?
I don't think I will, Jen. I really don't.
Part of the thing is like,
we'll keep an eye on you and see. If you come in here all of a sudden buff as a weightlifter.
And you have to like think about like, how does that feel? Like if you walked up to a man and you like thought he had muscular arms and you squeezed his arm or touched it,
It's
it felt
gonna
like
be spongy.
Yeah. Then
this is not going to feel like muscle.
No.
Well, that's it for us. Thanks for joining us this morning. Gary Nolan is next, and it's been a pleasure to be here.